Okay, me and Jenny just went through Convocation of Decay. I recorded that, but I thought, no one wants to watch a 3 hour long video about this shit, so I tried to just
Lorna was right. There's something in this
repeat
area.
what we came up with so far, and as close as possible at least. I mean, yeah, and try to condense it out in a bit shorter video. So, um, yeah. Let's start by this area just simply. I didn't go too much into detail about the respawn points this time, just because I think, it's not too hard here. There are not that many crazy drop downs and such. And if you track back only a little bit, you're mostly fine in most areas. So there are only like 1 or 2 significant places where you should watch out for track backing, but besides them, it's really just not important at all. Here in this entire beginning area, I would just say we try to
A
pace all the
disgusting
way
trail. What?
um,
A
over
trail
here
full
and
of
hold the
rats.
horde there. Like the horde from the front will be coming from there, the horde from the back will be coming from there. Also, there's item spawns here, so we're good. I guess you can see like the blue ones are respawn points, but you know that anyways, so just
Over
for you
there,
to see as
Lumberfist.
well.
A chaos warrior.
Um,
Well,
the
if she's
first
much, the
actually
head's little.
actual triggers start over here.
Bandages. Over
So
here.
there's a boss here, and the idea of if we have a boss right in the beginning, there's a few more boss triggers up until the drop down as well. Just like patrol trigger, I think. Yeah, I think patrol trigger too. So if we get a boss here, that person should hold the boss somewhere in this area, which is
Light
probably the
stormer.
safest way. Because only I think a few enemies will be spawning here, but the rest will be mostly coming from the stairs or the front of his course. So others can actually help killing the horde in front here or in the back there, and don't interfere with the boss. We could technically also go all the way back, but that would be a little bit too much, I think, for the first boss. Also, we should be able to burst him as we will still, like, have ammo and shit. So, I don't think it should be too much of a problem, but just in case, that place there should be fine. Holding a horde here is good. Holding a horde from here is good. So we're pretty open with where to go here. I would just always go in some of these corridor and parts here as well. Looks fine too. So we just push up. If there's a horde, we start pushing, obviously. But just push up.
Light leech. Light
This
stormer.
patrol trigger
Bring this
here,
before
I
you
think the
come.
patrol is coming down all the way through this hole. So we will probably have to stand very closely together in this heal potion room.
Down here,
Then this drop down here. Me and Johnny were talking about this a little bit more. If we should hold up here, or if we drop down. And these monster triggers are probably the most important part of the argument, because if we want to drop down, the best part where we would hold down there is this ramp. But this ramp is obviously a trigger too, so we shouldn't risk dropping down if we don't have
Lumberfist, can
to.
you not see this is the mark?
First of all, because of the ambience, of course, and second of all, because if we drop down and we don't have, or we will have a horde in just a bit, we might also get a trigger on this ramp, which is not uncommon, so
Oh, well, it's
that's
definitely a
perfect
scorch
timing.
range.
So that would be a little bit bad if that happened, you know. So we want to try to stand up there and then drop down.
Fire rats near.
Also here you can see the respawn
Move
points.
yourself, Lumberfoots.
These three are pretty close downstairs. So we could use those. Also we can use the next ones, which would be these here. They are a little bit further
I
away,
sense a
so
glumadier.
I mean, it's no big thing to just drag back a little bit, I think. They're holding here, the ramp works, also this, like, holding here, and here works too, but be aware that they will climb up through this gate, and they will also drop down over this railing, and I think also climb up, I'm not sure. But they will definitely drop down that I tested.
Down these steps.
Next hold spot would be here. We decided before. And I think we don't even have to fall back all the way back there, but we can just stay on this wall. This wall worked totally fine a few times, and I think it's also pretty good to just scoop a little bit around here. So yeah, that should be fine too. No need to track back all that way. There are a few boss triggers here and patrol triggers, so they just scatter around this entire platform. So just say, yeah, just as per usual, if there's a horde, we just don't go any further, and that's it. Because you can't really just pinpoint where they are exactly. For respawn points too, we just track back a little bit, and we should be fine. If we have a boss here in this area, there were two ideas we had. One would be that this person guiding the boss would just be walking through this hole. Be aware this boss is also going to squeeze through that hole for whatever reason they fit. Yeah, they do. And you can just basically loop around that area. That's also risky because you can get cut off by enemies coming in front through this tight hole. So this probably safer bet would be someone holding the boss, either on this platform up here, or down there. Down there would probably be ideal, because especially a troll or a storm fiend will just destroy the place where we stand. So yeah, it's a bit annoying, but if the person down with the boss will get in trouble, you can always drop down. But vice versa is not really possible, so if someone is holding the boss upstairs and we're fighting downstairs, that's gonna be trouble. So I would say just holding the boss down there on this small platform down there should be fine. Yeah. Also picking up the potions down there, and then next hold spot, like just holding somewhere in this on this platform is generally fine. I think doesn't really matter where. Next hold spot would be either here, the stairs, or on these stairs. But I think going here is a little bit bad because we don't have too much space, and I think they can come from here. But if it's doable, I guess we could do it. I would just refuse to go in here because that's usually a death trap. I can't remember a lot of cases where we actually escaped this room when there was a horde, so I would not try to go in here. Also going in this hallway, of course. The respawn points are a little bit weird. I'm not 100% certain if they will just no, I am 100% certain, I think. Yeah, we tested this before. So if you are in front of these respawn points, you will respawn downstairs, even if the door in front isn't opened yet. So this door has nothing to do with the respawn point, so if you want to have this person before the event, you have to go all the way back, but it's not necessary at all. In my opinion, because of one thing we found out, which is, I think Flamlios told this in the game we had earlier, at least Julius should know, that as soon as you touch the lift lever, the horde pacing stops. So we should just push up to this elevator actually, and not wait up here, but just push the lever and stop the horde timing. And also, in very important information that we just found out basically, is that as long as you stay up here, there's literally nothing spawning, not even the event is starting. So you can just safely wait here for the respawn, get the person up. This threat number 8 is just a few specials that spawn, but they will just continue spawning whatever you do. But as soon as you drop down,
Which one is it?
the event starts, and you start pushing buttons. So for the buttons, of course, like usually someone stays up here and gets the button, and it's like, I don't need to
Well,
explain this.
that's a door open. Shame there's another one.
That's nice. About this event, there's nothing crazy. Just stand down here on this wall, try to fight them off. Watch out for gas, because gas usually kills us down there if there's anything killing us. I think one thing that I fell into this trap a few times already is, even if we opened all 3 doors, there's usually just one last horde spawning. And I always forget about it and just rush out. And then this horde is spawning and cutting us off here, or cutting me off. Because I'm usually the idiot that just runs ahead. So, yeah. We can just wait here down there and fight off the last horde, or the last wave of the event, and then go up. It's also, I think, introduced by the gong, so we know that too. There is a boss trigger here, and a patrol trigger. So we might just get an instant boss trigger right after the event. I don't know, might happen. If we do, we can just fight in the event, I think, and just hold the horde here in this hallway. Either way, we can either hold in this hallway here, which I think it's good. It's decent, but it's not ideal. I think we should instead push up only a little bit. Over here, in this corner, and fight here. I think it's a lot safer and we have more space. Too. Alternatively, we go into the other corner, but be aware we will trigger with this boss trigger, and where's the patrol? There was one patrol trigger somewhere.
This way. Gas that.
This patrol
Hear the
trigger?
clank of a rattling gun. What fire? And this
Yeah, it's this patrol trigger. So this patrol trigger all the way. Oh no. Okay. All the way in the beginning there. This is one we triggered before, and it's a pretty weird patrol because that patrol is just like it's dropping back there, going all the way over here over this small breach, and then disappearing in there again. So in this case, if there's a patrolling there, we can't hold here because they will walk through this gate and probably see us. I mean, we might get lucky, but I wouldn't count on it. So in this case, I would push ahead and hold back there, which we did last time as well, and it worked perfectly fine. So yeah, there's this patrol. It goes all the way across. We gotta switch positions. Nothing crazy. Next hold spot will be up here. There's also a boss wall. I don't really know what why these boss walls are placed the way they are, because they don't really represent a trigger end or beginning. Because if we had a patrol here, we don't get a patrol in the next area. So it's like, I don't know. It's weird. It's weird. Okay, whatever. We stay here, fight up the horde from the back. Then we continue. We should not continue whilst the horde is still active, because as you can see, there's 1 and 2 boss triggers, and no, 3 boss triggers actually. If you see those 2 green lines, and a patrol trigger. Well, that might actually be the patrol trigger and the boss. Okay, whatever. There are patrol triggers and boss triggers just when we drop down. There are a few more up until this way. But there's one cool thing, which I didn't know before. I don't know if you did, but we can walk all the way up here, up to the stairs, even a little bit further, but I would just remember the stairs as a water. And there's no trigger at all, so we are totally safe. Although, what happens if you go in here? Probably it skips at some point. Yeah, it skips. Yeah, so don't go in there. Don't go in there. But You can go up until the stairs, which is pretty neat. We can also hold here at this gate.
Here,
If
mayflies.
there's like the rest of the wave going on still, we can finish them off here and just safely get some endings in the meantime. Also, what we can do, if we wanted to, we could
Another troll's near.
go all the way up here, and as you can see, it skips again, and we don't quite get the patrol there, but we get, I think, 1 or 2 additional boss spawns. And the boss spawns will always be somewhere in there, and I think they will, instead of cutting us off, then
Close.
walk through this area, drop down, and yeah, they won't cut us off, which is cool.
Hurry, this way.
So that's a thing to keep in mind.
Where your hit cannot, strangler.
And yeah, then we just push through here. The hold spot for this area is probably here. So we have the horde coming from the back and the front. And this little bit what's coming through this gate should be... can be fought here too. I think that shouldn't be that big of a deal. But fighting in here is a little bit weird, and in all the other corners it's a little bit weird too, so we should stick to this area here. Yeah, then if we just continue, you can see there's a boss trigger there, and there in front of there. So, yeah, just, if there's a horde, don't go any further, that's it. I don't know how to really analyze this shit. I don't. Yeah, I won't. Only one thing is probably the horde that's spawning. I don't really know why it's doing that, but if you go too far in front, I think the horde is just spawning downstairs instead of upstairs, so it just takes forever to get up. And I would just say, if we want to fight another horde before dropping down into the onslaught event, we should just drag back a little bit to force the horde to spawn upstairs. I think this corner here generally worked pretty well as well, so I would use this as a hold spot, like not only this corner, but just like this general area. It's crossing here, and just this corner is a safe spot. There's the last boss trigger. This one here. But it's not the last trigger in general, because there's a patrol trigger still. But one thing that we have to keep in mind, which I didn't note yet, is the last respawn point for a player in front of the drop down is gonna be in this hall. So if there's someone down here, we should absolutely go back up until here, because these respawn points are very important for us. Otherwise we will have to rest someone downstairs, and I don't think we will have the time or the chance to get someone up or all 3 bosses spawn, so that is crucial. We go back into the hall. Just go back in the room. I don't know. Or there's not enough time, we can also drop back down there, but I think that should be fine. Going back in there. Yeah. Okay, next spot would be back here, I guess. Fighting off a horde, if there's one, but then again, as I said before, they will probably spawn downstairs, which is annoying. This spot back here is pretty fucking good, so we should always check this too. And there's also like, always good items. Yeah, this is the last patrol by the way, so if we know we have a patrol and we haven't had one, we just send someone in to get just in the room and back out. And this patrol is just, I think, patrolling just past this way and dropping over this fence there, so we can just safely stand here and avoid them. Yeah, then we drop down. This is gonna be interesting. So as soon as we drop down, I would say we just run back here to this small hill there where there are usually items, and just try to fight off a little bit of the ambience before the monsters spawn. The monsters spawn like a little bit delayed, not too much of a delay though. So we fight off the ambience, just the ambience of this water area. Right now there's not a lot here, but also deleted quite some stuff, so probably that's why there's not so much. Yeah. Fight off the ambience, and then our team comp was Witcher and Captain, IB, Merc, and not Sister, Shade. So if we have this team comp, which we will probably run with because it's just very good. We should stay back here, and have the MB taunt the monsters, and depending on what monsters there will be, because I think it's I don't think I know that it's not like guaranteed 3 monsters, but there's a variation to it. So it could be a spawn, or a strong fiend, or a rat auger, or a troll. So it's only 3 of these 4. And depending on who it is, we will start with one of them. I would say we start, if we have a spawn, always with the spawn or the red auger. So spawn or red auger should be coming first, then there's Storm Fiend, and at last there's a troll, if we have a troll. And yes, so what is going to happen? The IB is going to go... I just say if we stand there, he's gonna go counterclockwise up until here, and tries to just stick to these 2 pillars and just kite around these 2 pillars. Why? It's quite frankly, there's not too much water here, so we can walk over the stuff instead of going through the water, because the water slows everyone down pretty significantly, which you can see, note, feel, I don't know. I think it's pretty noticeable, and it's especially noticeable when dodging. So yeah, we should try to avoid this. It's not really necessary, but it helps a bit. So the IB is trying to kite around these 2 pillars. Why not the entire way? Quite simply because there are triggers ahead. So our the second trigger area stopped when we dropped down, to my knowledge. So we might as well just get a patrol trigger here, which is just gonna walk in here. Or we will get a boss here, a 4th boss on top of it. And I think both of it should be avoided at any costs. So the IB should be kiting around these 2 pillars. Potentially can also kite around these 4 pillars. I mean, that's no big deal either, but just remember that don't go too far, because otherwise you will trigger the boss or the patrol there, potentially. So that should be fine. And also just going to the water will go and slow you down, which is also annoying, so I think it just helps a bit too. If we are lucky enough to get an ammo box, the strategy might also change a little bit. Because if we get an ammo box, I would suggest we instead of the IB going to do the kiting, have the Merc to do the kiting instead. Because I mean, in Righteous it worked perfectly well to have the Merc kite around, and if the Iron Breaker can just throw them the shit of the bosses, it will speed up things significantly, so that's gonna be cool. And yeah, so the general idea is IB walks around if we don't have an ammo box, like now for example. The IB walks around these 2 pillars, potentially these 4 pillars, and we have, for example, a spawn back here. So what will happen? We have a little bit of time to DPS a Storm Fiend as 3 people, as Mercury, Captain, and Shade. Use as much as we can, of course, but as soon as there's a horde spawning, the IB can kite a little bit of that horde too, but the horde will still have to die, because it's just too much otherwise. So I would suggest we use the Witch and the Captain and the Merc in this case, try to fight off the horde, and have the Shade still on this, basically last, still to kill ongoing killing of the boss. Also, when there's no horde going on and there's just a boss that's going to get killed and there's the two bosses dragged around and kited by the IB, there's still necessary to have someone dedicated to watch out for specials, and I would guess that's gonna be the Merc's task,
I
because Witch and a
still believe in the
Captain
dark.
and Shade are
Assassin!
a lot better at dealing with the boss and DPSing and trying to use the time as much as possible to kill the boss. And I mean, the Merc has a good handgun in his hand, so he can just shoot all specials from here. Sure, Witch and a Captain and Shade can also do this, but they should try to kill the boss a lot quicker than just focusing on specials, I think. That's why I thought, like,
I smell Ratman
give Merc
music.
this task. If, of course, the Merc is kiting around the IB, Witch and Captain, Shade are around here trying to kill the boss, then it's probably gonna be Witch and a Captain or Shade trying to kill special, probably Witch and a Captain. But, like, you know, it's always gonna be a little bit different, but that's just the general idea, I think. Either IB or potentially Merc is kiting around these four pillars, trying to not trigger, and if the trigger's up ahead, the other three are DPSing the boss, whilst there's one person always having a lookout for specials, and if there's a horde, the Shade will still stay on the boss, once the other two are trying to fight up the horde as quick as possible. If we continue with this, we should be able to not have anyone go down at all, which should be ideal. Because if there's anyone going down, I think there's only one respawn point here, and this is outside of this room. So, I don't know if it's gonna be possible, but we might consider,
Come on, this way.
if there's so many people down, or if there's like one person down and potentially a second one gray and going down soon as well, and there's still 3 bosses up, we might consider having someone go out and get the person up and go back in. They will spawn here, if everyone is basically all the way back at this wall, or behind the drop down. So yeah, that's a big if. Yeah.
So,
Uh,
spawn.
it's a bit of a gamble, really.
See it soon
But
enough.
I think we can do it. Okay. Let's continue. We made it successfully through this event, and we have a next boss trigger here. I think we should just go back into the event if we have a trigger up here.
This isn't over.
If there's if we have a boss trigger on this staircase and we wanna fight off this boss
Shield burning.
down here, which is possible. I mean, depending on the boss, it's also preferable, I guess. And if there's low ambience, even better. We can fight him here and just hold off the horde in this corridor, which shouldn't be big of a deal. There's also a few patrol spawns, so you gotta watch out for these. Maybe you have to track back either way. There's one thing to watch out though, and if we want to go at a good respawn, ideally we just go up the stairs a little bit. This will absolutely guarantee us to get a good respawn in front of the drop down, so we can get our team out.
Gas
As I
mask.
said, this
Somewhere
boss walls are
close.
weird,
There are
because there's a
all
boss trigger
closer
behind the boss
limits.
wall, there's even another boss wall still, and I don't know, I have no clue what these are. Okay, so, more patrols, more bosses. We were discussing this a lot, alright? A lot. But there are 3 potential hold spots here. One is here, on the ledge, on the drop down. One is here, basically.
These stairs look right.
And the last potential hold spot would be here. All of them have their pros and cons, and we couldn't really come to an agreement. But I'd say if we have a horde coming, and we will probably have, because we will have to clean up this ambience down there first. If we have a horde coming from the front, we can kill them here. If we have a horde coming from the back, I would try to go back in here instead and try to fight them off here, because last time, at least that's what it looked like in the video, we had a horde and we weren't sure where it was coming from, so instead of waiting and going back and checking if there's any horde coming from the back, we just dropped. I mean, that was obviously not a good idea, but it turned out to be a very bad idea only shortly after. Because we also got a patrol spawn down there. I think it was either that one or... Yeah, I think it was that one. So we got a patrol spawn there. We got a horde from the back dropping down. And... well, we couldn't really go anywhere. And that was even worse when we found out that our respawn points for the event are not very well either. Because I think these respawn points are technically the last instance that we can get a player up before the drop down to the event. But ideally we would just stay up here and get a good respawn before the stairs. Yeah. So just let's not drop if we have a horde or haven't cleaned all the ambience and such. So let's just wait here or here, or if we have a stormer that's forcing us back in that corner, we should still be able to push out here and fall back in that area here, and we can hold here still. So I would just go in this order, start there and slowly work our way back, regarding from where the horde is coming from. Yeah, if we have a patrol here, I think you have to go down. I'm not sure. I haven't checked the patrol path for this one yet. But I think it's walking this way on top here. So we have to drop down. Obviously healing up and such is always a good idea, so gotta make sure that the respawn is on top here and not downstairs. Especially ammo for whoever is down there. Maybe it's a DIB who has to get the ammo. Then if we still have a horde, we just use the ammo crate to just bombard the horde from all sides and get good stagger points here too. And we go into the event. There only has to be one person dropping down here to get the pacing stopping. So that's the thing we can keep in mind. For the event, it's I can remember it not being that hard. But when we looked at it now, it actually looked quite rough. Like the spawns are wrapped up by quite a bit. If you look at the top right side of my screen, you can see this composition that is spawning every now and then, and it's quite a bit. So I would say we just start. Yeah, as you can see, it starts with like 3 Chaos Warriors and then continues by, I think, even more Storm Vermin and Horde and such. By constantly spamming specials, of course. I would say we just try to hold up here as long as possible. Specials are our main target, of course. And if it's necessary for us to drop, we should just do so and not wait. Of course, but we have to, like, it's super crucial that we have to, we make sure that there's always at least one person standing in this pit. Because if not, the timer will actually, I think it will even go down. So if we just stay down here and kite around and then once in a time go up there, it will just take forever. It will never stop. So yeah, let us have like 2 people walking down here, and also I would just say we go clockwise, because you can use these ramps to your advantage and get back up again if it's necessary. I think most of them will work when you go clockwise in a fairly good way. So yeah, that's pretty good. Also, when kiting, we should make sure that the remaining 2 or 3 people that are kiting downstairs, if there's only one person standing up, should always kite together. Because yeah, when we kite alone, we will just die at one point. Also, just pick up teammates, but I mean, that's all obvious. But the important thing is that we just make sure that there's always one person standing in here. Yeah. As soon as this event is done, I wouldn't even try to just kill everything, honestly. We will have to kite quite a bit of stuff, because only like after a little bit of time there's so much stuff as the content of a few patrols, so it's like, yeah, we can kill quite a few enemies, but we won't kill everything. Especially because of the specials, so focus on specials, kiting, and if we're done with the event, just bail. Immediately. Just run away. Yeah, that's it. Triggers are on, event is done, and we just run to the end. We don't have anyone with the dashing or anything else ability, so yeah. I don't know. We just try to stick together, and make sure that there's at least one person standing up in the pit at all times. Theoretically, we could go at it that way, that we have the IB standing in the middle and just tank everything, and the others are just kiting around. I mean, it could work. It could also not work. I don't know. It's a risk. So I would just say have at least one person at all times standing up there. It doesn't really matter who. We can also just switch around and have, I mean, if the IB can just stand there a little bit longer than a Shade or the Witch and a Captain or something, there you go. Yeah. Okay, that took me too long, but it's still shorter than the 3 hours video. Yeah, I think the middle event's gonna be a lot of organizing, so there's a lot of variables that we have to keep in mind. For example, the ammo box, or if we will have a boss trigger or not, and all this stuff. Because actually, I think if we get a boss trigger in this hall, an additional one, so we have 4 bosses, it's less harmful for us than if we have a patrol in there, because kiting a chaos patrol with 3 bosses, yeah, I think that's too much. Also keeping this water in mind, and just respawn points. We have like 3 or 4 crucial respawn points, but the rest is really just, if you want a more recent respawn, then you just track back it. If it doesn't matter, then you just don't. It's not a big thing, really, and I think old spots are not that crazy fixed either, because most of the stuff is just tight hallways, so we can just move from one hallway to another in most cases. So I think we should be fine. We still have to test all this out, but I think up until the mid-event, everything worked fine. So if we just try to, in case we use this comp, of course, just try to stick to this strategy, we should be fine. I mean, we made it once before. Let's see if we can make it again, and I think we can.